Part 2 of our review of Chapter 34 will begin here with Section 6. A biome is a major type of ecosystem characterized by its dominant features. Now, in Section 6 it discusses aquatic biomes in general, but the ocean biomes in particular. Now, there are some important terms in bold that you need to be familiar with. For example, photic. Photic means that there's enough light for photosynthesis in the water. Aphotic means there's not enough light for photosynthesis in the water. Plankton refers to tiny organisms that are suspended in the water. Phytoplankton are those that are photosynthetic, such as algae, and zooplankton are those that are not photosynthetic, such as little tiny animals or protozoans or larval stages. Benthos means aquatic organisms living on or in the bottom, regardless of how shallow or deep the bottom is. Pelagic simply means open water, regardless of where you are. Now, in your book, you've got a drawing of an ocean and its zones, and I've kind of reproduced this on the board here. Here we have the edge of one continent, here we have across the ocean to the edge of another. Now, you have an intertidal zone here where you have high and low tide. You've got the continental shelf going from here to here. You've got the continental slope here. Most of the ocean bottom is abyssal, about 2.5 miles down. Where you may have some geologic activity, you may have a trench on another continent, which trenches can get quite deep, up to 7 miles in some cases, down below. This dashed green line represents the difference between the photic areas of the ocean and the aphotic areas of the ocean. It's pitch black at the bottom of the ocean. Now, also in your section it discusses other things, such as coral reefs, coastal wetlands, and estuaries. Estuaries, we have a lot of those around here. Estuaries are areas where fresh water and salt water mix. You can have brackish water. The organisms there are tolerant to changing salt concentration or salinity. Now, in Section 7, it goes over freshwater biomes, where the salt concentration is much lower. Lakes are freshwater ecosystems that generally involve standing water, that includes ponds and natural lakes. Streams include rivers, creeks, and so forth, where you have flowing water, and wetlands are areas where you have a combination of land and water. Types of wetlands include swamps, which are dominated by trees, and marshes, which are dominated by grasses. We also have coastal wetlands bordering our bays. Now, the rest of the chapter discusses terrestrial biomes. Section 8 has a map of the distribution of the major types of land ecosystems, which are all listed right here. And they all have their diagrams. Now, starting from the tropics, we have tropical rainforest, high rainfall, nutrient-poor soil, because most of the nutrients are tied up in the living things, rapid decomposition. Very high biodiversity in tropical rainforests. Savannas are tropical, but they're drier. They're tropical dry grasslands with prolonged droughts, and that prevents the establishment of trees. African savanna is the largest one, where you have the things like the wildebeest and the lion and giraffes and things. In the more temperate zones, we have deserts. Deserts are located in the landlocked areas around those 30 degrees north and south latitude. Very dry, very low rainfall. Everything living in deserts is adapted for dry conditions. Chaparrals are dominated by spiny shrubs, drought-tolerant spiny shrubs. Chaparrals are located on the west coasts of continents where cool oceans circulate, such as the west coast of the United States, Southern California, and the Mediterranean region. Temperate grasslands occur across the mid-United States. They're the prairies. They're similar to savannas, except you have much more fertile soil. It makes good farmland here, but still you have prolonged dry spells that prevent forests from establishing. In the eastern United States and western Europe, we have the temperate deciduous forest. Deciduous means to shed the leaves. These are the hardwood trees that drop their leaves in autumn. Now, you get more rainfall here than you do here. So temperate deciduous forests are at the same latitudes as temperate grasslands, but the difference is rainfall. Farther north than both the grassland and the temperate deciduous forest is the taiga, or the northern coniferous forest. This is running across the northern United States, Canada, Siberia, that type of place, dominated by cold-tolerant evergreen pines. Okay? Not the same type of pine forest that we have around here. It's actually a subset of this. Farther north, from the taiga is the tundra. The tundra represents the northernmost limit of plant growth. You have permanently frozen soil a little ways down, even in the summertime. It's known as permafrost soil. North of that is the polar regions, no permanent vegetation. Basically, everything is covered with snow and ice. And that concludes the review of this chapter.